A lone stranger arrived in a peaceful village tucked inside a green valley. Although he possessed the fierce skill of a battle-hardened warrior, he chose to keep to himself in total silence. For the first few days, the villagers hardly noticed him, as he lived so quietly he barely seemed to exist at all. 10 days later, word spread among the curious local boys that the stranger spent every waking moment swinging a heavy sword in his front yard. Months slipped by, yet the mystery man paid no mind to the gossip, focusing entirely on his endless routine. Even as season turned into season, the villagers kept babbling about his relentless training while he ignored the noise. Most people dismissed the pesky chatter as useless noise, caring little for the stranger's private business. However, after half a year of watching him swing that blade without missing a single day, genuine curiosity began to take root. Questions mounted about his true speed, his raw strength, and the level of mastery he was quietly building. When an observer finally went to check his form, the actual swordsmanship looked crude and thoroughly disappointing to a trained eye. It seemed clear that while a tragic past burned inside his heart, simple hard work would never be enough to fix his flaws. Time kept moving as a retired mercenary arrived with his family, bringing along a kind-hearted daughter named Rima, who captured the village's heart. 3 full years passed, with the stranger still swinging his sword every day, prompting a local to record the strange passage of time in a journal. After 2 years of earnest courtship, Rima married the journal writer, filling their home with everyday warmth and happiness. Yet despite his complete domestic bliss, the writer could not shake the mysterious swordsman from his thoughts. By 5 years, 1 month, and 12 days, the routine had become an unshakable fixture of daily life. Through 5 years and 4 months, stretching past 6 years and 2 months, the man swung his weapon to every hardship without fail. Even during heavy snowstorms in the 6th year, he trained outside while back in the village. A lovely daughter named Laura was born. By the 7th year, the swordsman's strikes began radiating a powerful halo of light across the rain-drenched fields. 15 full years flew by, becoming such a natural part of the world that people took his daily practice for granted. His training felt as predictable and certain as the sun rising in the morning and the moon taking over the night sky. Decades passed, turning the journal writer into an old grandfather who woke up to the gentle teasing of his family. His grown daughter Laura prepared to take the family out, leaving the old man to enjoy a quiet morning inside his home. Deciding to stretch his legs, the old village chief stepped outside to take a pleasant walk under the clear sky. He exchanged brief greetings with the locals, marveling at how drastically time had changed everything around them. 37 years had passed, leaving only one specific yard untouched by the flow of time. "There!" the old swordsman gasped for air, putting every last drop of his life force into one final, explosive swing that shattered the air. As the silver halo around the warrior faded away, the old chief gently laid his body down and closed his eyes forever. He offered a quiet prayer, sincerely hoping the tireless man had finally passed on to a better place. Suddenly, 15-year-old Aaron Pereira bolt upright in his bed, gasping for breath as he shattered the illusion of the intense dream. Across the territory, people gossip endlessly about the children of Baron Pereira, particularly his talented daughter Kirill. At just 11 years old, Kirill had already been officially appointed as a master enchantress by the royal family itself. In sharp contrast stood her elder brother Aaron, who earned the embarrassing nickname Deadbeat Noble by shutting himself away. He spent every single day sleeping his life away in his bedroom, completely isolated from the outside world. While the locals sympathized with him losing his mother right before his eyes, his total lack of effort still drew sharp criticism. When guards started making noise during their shift, an angry voice immediately cut through the air to put them in their place. Kiro cornered the lazy guards, furious that they dared act so obnoxious while on official duty. Madame Amelia stepped in gently, calming Kiro down by pointing out that the guards had already learned their lesson. Meanwhile, the estate guards lined up in the hallway, quietly discussing the bright future of the family estate. They praised Kiro's incredible talent and Madame Amelia's upright leadership, feeling confident in the territory's prospects. Inside his room, Aaron groaned as he struggled to pull himself out of bed, feeling remarkably strange after his vivid nightmare. The memory of the dream remained uncomfortably clear, refusing to fade away like normal thoughts. He could still vividly feel the sweet taste of relief through intense fatigue and the agonizing screams of exhausted muscles. Clenching his trembling hands, Eren felt an overwhelming urge surging from deep within his physical body. He called out to a servant, stuttering out his sudden desire to swing a heavy sword right away. The servant stared back in total disbelief, completely stunned by the lazy young master's out-of-character request. Word quickly spread to the estate's indoor training grounds, where armored knights murmured in confusion over Eren's sudden appearance. Onlookers watched in shock, as the notoriously lazy young master actually stepped onto the training floor in broad daylight. Spectators mocked his awkward entrance, convinced that whatever he was trying to pull off would fail miserably. Ignoring the side-eyes, Eren walked over to the weapon racks and picked out a simple wooden sword from the selection. A guard pinched himself repeatedly in pain, struggling to comprehend that the scene unfolding right before his eyes wasn't an impossible dream. With a sharp burst of breath, Eren stepped forward and swung the heavy wooden blade with full force. The impact echoed loudly off the walls as he pushed his untrained body past its limits, panting heavily for air. He repeatedly slammed the practice sword through the air, putting raw determination into every single swing. Watching from the upper bridge, two knights snickered at his pathetic technique and clumsy footwork. They reasoned that a boy who did nothing but sleep his whole life couldn't possibly be good, assuming he was reacting to a rival noble's son. The guards laughed and placed bets on how quickly he would quit, predicting he wouldn't last more than 3 days, or even 30 minutes. Overhearing their harsh jokes, Eren gritted his teeth while a senior knight offered to find him a proper swordsmanship instructor. Instead of waiting for tomorrow, Eren refused to stop, ignoring his aching joints as he drove himself further. His weak legs gave out and he crashed hard onto the cold stone floor, completely spent. Lying flat on his back and gasping for air, the sheer physical exhaustion overwhelmed his frail frame. Yet, as he dragged himself back up, Eren realized that copying the man from his dream gradually lifted the heavy burden in his heart. Remembering the grand aura of the dream swordsman, he channeled that image into another violent strike. With a fierce grunt, he kept swinging until a worried servant rushed over, begging him to stop for the day. Eren looked up in surprise, realizing his throat was completely parched and his senses were completely numb. He stared at the horizon in disbelief, having lost all track of time as the sun dipped low in the sky. Back in his room, his whole body throbbed in agony, leaving him convinced that the intense pain would keep him awake all night. Barely 5 minutes later, the overwhelming physical exhaustion knocked him out cold into a deep, heavy sleep. A few days later, Eren sat quietly at the table, hungrily wolfing down fresh bread to refuel his battered body. Even though the mysterious dream kept recurring, he found that swinging the sword wiped away all his stray, painful thoughts. Over at the barracks, the guards continued betting on Eren's daily appearance, eager to see who would take the pot. An elderly visitor carrying a staff approached a rookie guard, politely asking for directions to the main training grounds. After presenting his official entry permit, the visitor walked alongside the guards toward the practice arena. The winning guard cheered loudly as Eren showed up for the 4th consecutive day, forcing his bitter companion to hand over the money. Grumbling over the lost bet, the guards admitted that the young master was surprisingly persistent. The senior guard squabbled over the information, while the rookie noted that Irene's dedication seemed genuine. Even though his technical skill remained painfully basic, it was clear he wasn't just swinging a sword to kill time. The visiting elder, Bran Somerville, watched closely from under his hood, expecting the boy to break under the pressure sooner rather than later. Instead, Eren unleashed another forceful strike, gasping for air as he pushed through the intense physical strain. Suddenly, a massive magical creature soared over the rooftops, signaling the grand arrival of Kirill Pereira. The legendary griffin, a creature thought to exist only in myths, landed heavily in the courtyard and terrified the armored guards. Kirill stepped forward in her purple robes, bringing her massive magical construct to a halt right in front of the cowering men. Infusing mana into her creation to make it move like a living beast, she displayed the terrifying power of an official enchantress. She singled out the gossiping guards one by one, calling them out for their disrespectful behavior. The frightened guards stuttered out excuses, claiming they had swapped ships properly and hadn't caused any real trouble. Kirill shut him down instantly, furious that they were wasting time babbling in the training grounds instead of maintaining proper discipline. Seeing his sister cause a scene, Eren called out her name, looking on with genuine concern. He walked over and firmly told her to stop, ordering her to quit causing such a dramatic disruption over nothing. Eren plainly walks away from Kirill, leaving her with the summoned beast, stunned by his unemotional reaction. Recovering her composure, Kirill snapped back, asking if he really thought swordsmanship was that easy after sleeping his life away. She bluntly criticized his form, pointing out that even the rookie guard possessed far better skill than his clumsy swings. Before the argument could escalate, Madame Amelia walked into the courtyard and gently called Kirill away from her brother. Though Kirill protested, her mother stood firm, prompting the young enchantress to turn away in silence. As the family departed, the red beast roared fiercely at the remaining guards, terrifying them into submission one last time. Watching from the shadows, a hooded figure decided to keep a close eye on Iran's daily routine for a few more days. Later that evening, an attendant walked down the dimly lit hallway to report to Kirill that her brother had finally fallen asleep. When she asked for more details, the attendant won't budge. But Kirill unleashes a pressure that makes him pause in surprise. She sternly warned the attendant never to mention the night's events to anyone else before walking away silently. Inside his room, Eren unwrapped a carefully prepared package containing a special gift and a handwritten note. In the letter, Kirill apologized for her harsh words, explaining she was simply worried after learning he was overworking himself without eating. She left behind a magical doll to aid his rest, alongside a secret, encouraging note signed with love from their mother. Realizing how deeply his mother and sister cared for him, Eren felt the surge of warmth just as a servant announced his meal was ready. At the dining table, Kirill affectionately offered food to her brother, which he accepted with a quiet smile. Eren admitted his past shortcomings, expressing his love and gratitude to his family for their unwavering support. Baron Pereira smiled warmly, encouraging everyone to enjoy their meal before bringing up Eren's new passion. His father gently noted that while self-improvement was admirable, he didn't want Eren overworking his body, though Eren insisted his real training was far harder. By the 15th day of continuous training, the estate servants marveled at how the once lazy master hadn't missed a single day. The guards noticed the elderly visitor hanging around the grounds again, wondering why a stranger was so obsessed with spectating. Elder Brand Somerville watched from the sidelines, admitting he initially thought Eren's sudden drive was just a short-lived phase brought on by an inferiority complex. He confessed to himself how dead wrong he had been, realizing the boy was training with the intense focus of a master blacksmith hammering raw steel. Seeing an unyielding iron-like willpower usually reserved for battle-hardened veterans inside the 15-year-old boy, Bran made up his mind. He recognized that if Eren received guidance under the right mentor, his hidden potential could explode beyond all expectations. Bran approached the estate's caretaker, asking if the young noble had received any formal training in swordsmanship yet. The caretaker explained that while the Baron planned to hire a teacher soon, Eren had been swinging the sword entirely on his own without a master. When the caretaker mentioned assigned local knights, Bran immediately shut the idea down, having far bigger plans in mind. Inside the estate office, Baron Pereira listened in complete shock as the mysterious guest revealed Eren's true, unrealized potential. Bran recommended sending Iren to the Kronos Swordsmanship School, the continent's most elite institution reserved exclusively for legendary talents. Knowing Chrono carried a reputation greater than the Royal Academy, the Baron worried whether Eren could survive such brutal competition after 10 years of inactivity. The Baron called Eren in, laying out the immense struggles and cutthroat environment he would face if he chose to attend the school. Eren stood in his room, processing the sudden realization that he was about to jump into a fierce academy after a decade of doing nothing. Looking at his hands, he resolved to face the challenge head-on, stepping forward to inform his father of his final decision. With firm determination shining in his eyes, Eren announced that he would go to Chrono and take on the challenge. At the estate gates, his loving family gathered to see him off, wishing him a safe journey and a triumphant return. As the carriage rolled along, the escort guard asked Eren if this was his very first time traveling outside his home territory. The guard handed him a small parting gift sent by Kirill, bringing a soft, appreciative smile to Eren's face. Arriving at the massive stone fortress of Chrono, an escort offered to lead him inside, but Eren politely declined to walk on his own. Standing tall before the grand entrance, Aaron promised himself he would return home with incredible results. Inside the hall, young Master Bart Lloyd arrogantly boasted about his distinguished, noble bloodline to a crowd of flattering trainees. When the receptionists recognized Aaron Pereira and noted his connection to Sir Bran Somerville, the surrounding crowd turned to stare in surprise. The staff directed him toward the main auditorium, wishing him luck alongside the hundreds of other hopeful candidates. Whispers immediately broke out among the trainees, who mocked Aaron as the infamous deadbeat noble and judged his frail appearance. Aaron pushed open the heavy doors and stepped into the assembly hall, immediately feeling the heavy, hostile stares of the crowd. Surrounded by fierce competitors glare at him, Aaron took a deep breath and forced himself to stay completely calm under the pressure. A stern, muscular instructor stepped onto the stage, addressing all 400 candidates as mere preliminary trainees who had yet to earn their place. The instructor noted the presence of exceptional talents, including Ilya Lindsay, the famed sword prodigy who sent shockwaves of panic through the other candidates. Rival trainees gritted their teeth in frustration, realizing their chances of taking top rank had completely vanished with her presence. Ordering everyone to leave their personal belongings behind, the instructor led the 400 trainees out onto a massive outdoor training field. He introduced a long, grueling running course, announcing that their very first evaluation would test their raw cardiovascular endurance and willpower. The test began at a punishing pace, with elite trainees sprinting forward to establish dominance, while the instructor shouted at them to raise the tempo. Aaron ran alongside the pack, treating the grueling marathon as a vital test of his resolve, while arrogant rivals mocked his struggling form. As the relentless pace broke weaker students, trainees collapsed onto the dirt in agony, screaming that they couldn't take another step. The stern instructor watched coldly as candidate after candidate gave up, while Aaron dropped to his knees, his body completely battered and screaming in pain. Lying near total defeat, Aaron stared down at his trembling boots, while arrogant rivals sneered at his apparent limit. Refusing to break, Aaron forced himself back up, comparing his current agony to the unimaginable decades of suffering endured by the dream swordsman. Picturing the solitary warrior who trained relentlessly for 37 years, Aaron felt a burning desire to reach that very same level of unshakable greatness. With eyes blazing with newfound power, Aaron gritted his teeth and exploded forward into a sprint, pushing far past his physical limits. Instructors watching from the platform gasped in shock as Aaron pushed past his absolute physical limit without giving up. His legs buckled and he slammed hard onto the dirt, completely spent and on the verge of fainting. An instructor noted how interesting the young trainee was, as medical staff rushed over to tend to his collapsed body. Waking up inside the infirmary with a gasp, Aaron was reassured by the medical officer that his body was completely fine. The officer handed him his official rank tag, reminding him that the initial rankings would completely change over the coming year anyway. Seeing that Aaron wasn't bothered by his low placement, the staff sent him off to join his very first class without playing hooky. At the morning assembly, instructors greeted the preliminary trainees and laid out the strict schedule for daily routines and free time. While Aaron excited himself over practicing his swings, the instructor suddenly declared that all weapon training was strictly forbidden during this phase. As evening fell, Brat Lloyd and his fellow noble trainees complained about how dull and exhausting the theory classes were. Inside the physical drill room, trainees gathered to work out, though some scoffed that everyone would tire out soon enough. Meanwhile, Ilya Lindsay executed her physical training with such terrifying power that onlookers stood completely overwhelmed. Watching her operate on an entirely different level proved that the rumors surrounding the genius swordswoman were vastly understated. Over in the corner, Aaron struggled under heavy equipment, prompting onlookers to snicker that he was going to faint all over again. Disgusted by the foolish mockery, Brat Lloyd told his companions to stop wasting time on pointless distractions and move out. Judith slammed her weights down with a glare, furiously muttering that she refused to lose to Ilya ever again. When a nearby trainee flinched, Judith snapped at him to get lost, completely unable to focus under his stares. An arrogant trainee ordered Judith to get on her knees and beg for Brat's mercy, but Judith fiercely told him to shut his mouth. Walking past the fiery confrontation, Ilya approached Irene directly and asked if they could have a quiet word together. She leaned in and whispered practical advice, showing him how to properly use the drill room equipment to recover his muscles safely. Aaron listened quietly and nodded, turning to walk away while ignoring the surrounding noise. Judith immediately cornered Aaron, aggressively demanding to know why he was ignoring her and what business Ilya had talking to him. She interrogated him with intense suspicion, refusing to believe that Ilya had simply taught him how to use the exercise gear properly. Judith accused them of having a secret relationship, but Aaron stood his ground and reiterated that she had only offered basic equipment tips. Dismissing her persistent hostility, Aaron jumped straight onto the pull-up bars to focus entirely on his training routine. As a whole month of identical physical conditioning dragged on, trainees downed water and complained about the absurd ban on swords. "Brat!" Lloyd corrected his posture and focused on his own grind, knowing he could never defeat Ilya if he remained complacent. He looked over at Aaron with contempt, convinced that a lazy noble relying on backhanded means would soon revert to his old slothful ways. Heading out to the running tracks, Brat and his peers were stunned to find the other trainees already pushing past their limits. Brat surged forward on the dirt field, telling anyone who couldn't keep up to fall behind while he poured all his strength into the run. Instructors watched the intense competition unfold, noting that Aaron could no longer be mocked as a deadbeat as he lifted heavy weights with fierce resolve. Soon after, the academy gathered all trainees inside the main hall to announce that their midterm evaluation had officially arrived. Murmurs rippled through the crowd as trainees panicked over the impossible physical requirements and strict time limits set for the test. When instructors announced that the sword master would personally reward the top 5 finishers, Brat felt confident about securing a winning spot. The evaluation kicked off, and Judith charged ahead like a maniac, setting a blistering new record despite retching from physical overexertion. Observing Aaron push to his own limits, trainees wondered how he managed to keep driving forward day after day. Meanwhile, Swordmaster Ian arrived at the grounds to inspect the trainees himself, preferring to evaluate their spirit with his own eyes. An instructor flattered Swordmaster Ian on his youthful looks, prompting the amused master to laugh and promise to double his salary on the spot. The instructors pointed out Ilya's obsessive training pace, worrying that letting her push to collapse would waste her extraordinary genius. The Swordmaster noted that Ilya was far too stubborn to stop, unless given a truly undeniable reason. Turning his attention toward the drill hall, the Swordmaster asked where Aaron Pereira was as onlookers marveled at the boy lifting continuously for 30 minutes. An instructor stepped forward to intervene, but Swordmaster Ian immediately put a hand up and ordered them to let the boy continue. He strictly commanded that as long as Aaron refused to give up on himself, no one was permitted to stop him under any circumstances. Panting heavily in his quarters, Aaron reflected on how strange it felt to receive genuine help from Ilya despite everyone else's mockery. As fatigue washed over him, a vision of heavy red fabric wrapped around his senses, beckoning him like a comforting blanket. The sweet, tempting illusion urged him to surrender to the warmth and stay sleeping forever in his peaceful isolation. Shattering the mental trap with an explosive burst of willpower, Aaron broke free from the haunting shadow of his past sloth. Offering a quiet thank you to the memory that saved him, he opened his eyes on his bed, his mind clear and fully renewed. On the morning of the midterm, trainees mocked Aaron's torn clothes, while Brat felt confident that second place was practically his. At 8:55 morning, the head instructor explained the 4 rigorous stages of the evaluation course: push press, core agility, track running, and long-distance swimming. The signal fired, and stage 1 began, with Ilya instantly blasting through the barbell push presses at blinding speed. Acknowledging that no one could match Ilya's pace, Brat focused on securing his lead while Aaron powered through his sets with steady cadence. Brat glares in frustration as Aaron powers through his repetitions, wondering why the boy was pushing himself to the brink of death. When Aaron officially cleared stage 1, surrounding rivals panicked and tried to convince themselves that he would faint any second. Aaron felt his body burning hot, realizing that his stamina had completely transformed and he wasn't overdoing it like before. Refusing to let burnout hold him back, he accelerated his pace and officially cleared stage 2 in record time. Swordmaster Ian watched in approval from the stands as Aaron tore through the running track on stage 3 with explosive energy. Clutching his head as a strange surge of power welled up inside his chest, Aaron set his eyes firmly on chasing down Ilya. Further ahead in stage 4, Judith pushed her battered body into the long-distance swim, screaming internally that she would never lose. Recalling the bitter insults of nobles who claimed she was acting cheeky, Judith dug her fingers into the dirt and refused to surrender. Swearing to prove her hard work, she plunged into the deep water for the swimming leg, putting every last drop of strength into her kick. Suddenly, severe muscle cramps seized Judith's legs, leaving her gasping in horror as her exhausted body began to sink. Realizing she had overworked herself past the point of no return, tears welled in her eyes as the dark water swallowed her whole. Plunging into the depths without a second thought, Aaron grabbed Judith's unconscious form and hauled her back toward the surface. Coughed up water and choking, Judith panicked, but Aaron reassured her that they were almost at the shore. Dragging her onto the dry land, Aaron handed her over to the medical team and told them to handle the rest before sprinting off to finish. Seeing Aaron throw away his high ranking just to save a rival, Judith broke down in tears, crushed that she had failed after working so hard. An instructor reassured her that it was too early to be discouraged, reminding her that a second evaluation round was still ahead. Trainees scoffed at Aaron's 34th place finish, with Lance arrogantly celebrating that Aaron's detour allowed him to steal 5th place instead. A muscular trainee bragged about snatching 5th place, while Brat Lloyd quietly accepted 2nd place behind Ilya. Looking over at Aaron, Brat inwardly admitted total defeat, recognizing that Aaron's mental fortitude was a level he couldn't hope to match. The next morning, Aaron went back out to run on the dirt path, gasping for air as his body throbbed with exhaustion. Ilya asked Aaron point blank why he rescued Judith, and Aaron softly replied that he simply felt it was something he had to do. Aaron reflected quietly, explaining that he simply felt he had to do it, knowing full well that others would continue to mock him as a deadbeat noble. He confessed that for a long time he felt trapped in a swamp of despair, until his loving family dragged him out into the light. Because he knew the horror of sinking into that abyss, he couldn't let a classmate drown, prompting Ilya to look at him in silent wonder. She warned him that she wouldn't offer him any more personal help or guidance, hoping he wouldn't regret becoming everyone's laughingstock again. When Aaron asked why she helped him in the first place, Ilya admitted she simply hated people who talked down on others without knowing a thing about them. The academy assembled all trainees for the official results, announcing that the top 5 finishers would receive a private audience and reward from the swordmaster. The head instructor suddenly called trainee number 311, Aaron Pereira, up to the main podium, catching Ilya and Brat completely off guard. On behalf of the swordmaster, the instructor publicly honored Aaron for his nobility and selflessness, declaring that while competition mattered, sacrificing his own rank to save a drowning classmate earned him a special award alongside the top elite. Inside the private audience room, Swordmaster Ian acknowledged Brat Lloyd's pride as a high-ranked noble, noting he would have easily taken first place in any other year. But when this year's winner Isla daringly requested personal guidance as his reward, the Swordmaster advised her to stop being swayed by others and live his own life. He urged Isla to stop wasting time tied to petty obsessions and return to her family to master their own vision swordsmanship, though Isla stubbornly insisted on receiving guidance right then and there. Turning his attention to the final preliminary trainee, Swordmaster Ian admitted he was most eager to hear Aaron Pereira's response. Aaron stepped forward and apologetically admitted that he knew his request might sound ridiculous, but he truly had no one else to talk to about his struggles. The Swordmaster thanked the boy for his honesty, encouraging him to share exactly what had been happening. After listening intently, Aaron thanked the Swordmaster for his advice, leaving the old master amused that Ilya Lindsay of all people had befriended the quiet boy. Setting aside small talk, the Swordmaster declared that his conscience wouldn't allow him to reward Aaron with mere words, offering to answer any specific question about swordsmanship. Aaron hesitated in deep embarrassment, confessing that having only practiced alone for a single month before joining the academy, he didn't even know what questions he should ask. The Swordmaster told him not to apologize, assuring the boy that there was no need to feel sorry for his lack of experience. He granted Aaron an open invitation to seek him out whenever he felt ready, promising to step in whenever he saw fit. Watching Aaron walk away with steady composure, the Swordmaster noted that despite his lack of tactical knowledge, the boy possessed an unshakable, clear goal. He sensed an imposing, mysterious presence guiding Aaron's steps, setting him completely apart from ordinary talents. Over in the training facility, Judith awkwardly approached Iran while he worked out, stammering through a sudden thank you for saving her during the evaluation. She vowed to repay her debt and bluntly declared that they should stick together from now on, insistence that they share meals instead of eating alone. Judith pushed further, declaring they should also practice swordsmanship together, forcing Aaron to agree before she stomped off. Watching from across the hall, rival trainees gossiped about Judith's bizarre shift in attitude, wondering if she had gone crazy after almost drowning. Brat. Lloyd observed the scene silently, noting how strangely distant Ilya, Lindsay, and Aaron had become despite their earlier connection. The instructors called everyone to attention, announcing that trainees would be allowed 2 hours to handle real weapons freely based on their 4 months of conditioning. Judith swung her blade with explosive power, realizing her balance remained rock solid thanks to their intense physical conditioning. As trainees took to the floor to demonstrate their skills, Aaron stood alone in the grand hall and slowly drew his wooden practice sword. With sharp focus, Aaron drove his blade forward in a powerful vertical slice, recalling the exact form of the dream swordsman. Onlooking trainees mocked his crude form, but senior instructors noted that his grip and alignment were surprisingly close to the standard textbook stance. Stepping out from the observing crowd, Brat Lloyd raised his sword and challenged Aaron to an immediate duel right there on the floor. Aaron flinched in surprise but quickly composed himself and accepted the challenge with a resolute nod. An instructor rushed over to stop them, insisting that formal duels required proper authorization. But Swordmaster Ian stepped in and allowed the match to proceed. Both fighters assumed their stances, and as the signal was given, Aaron lunged forward with a sharp gasp. Aaron drove his wooden blade through the air with raw force, but Brat swiftly sidestepped the aggressive assault with practiced ease. Brat unleashed a rapid counterattack, his blade clashing violently against Aaron's weapon and shattering the air with heavy impacts. Watching the exchange, Brat analyzed Aaron's movements, noting that while his reaction time was decent, his balance and stance remained completely inefficient. Realizing Aaron's technical skill was painfully lacking, Brat surged forward with full power to test the boy's raw strength. Brat executed a flawless, high-speed strike, slamming his blade past Aaron's guard and disarming him in a single flash of motion. The referee declared Brat the winner before the instructor stepped forward to officially divide the trainees into their respective skill classes based on the evaluation. Ilya, Lindsay, Brat Lloyd, and Judith were assigned to Class A at the absolute top of the academy to receive the most intense training. After placing middle-tier trainees into Class B through Class C, the instructor announced that Ian Pereira was assigned to Class F due to his complete lack of basic technique. Judith raged at the results, cursing Brat for using Aaron to make himself look superior, while Aaron listened quietly. Late that night inside his room, Brat wiped sweat from his brow as he lay in bed, unable to shake the memory of their brief duel. He recalled how Aaron had instinctively dodged his initial strike, remembering the terrifying absolute focus burning inside the boy's eyes during his vertical slash. The next day in Class F, temporary instructor Rune Tarhal confronted Aaron, asking what a late starter needed most to catch up with seasoned peers. When Aaron suggested hard work, Rune firmly shut him down, declaring that talent was the only thing that could bridge a gap of several years. Rune issued a strict ultimatum, giving Aaron exactly 1 week to master all fundamental sword stances or face immediate expulsion from the academy. Aaron accepted the harsh challenge without hesitation, diving into grueling stance drills as Rune barked orders to correct his posture. By day 5, Rune observed in shock as Aaron's execution speed exploded, marveling at the boy's bizarre capacity for hard work. On the 6th day, Aaron executed his final sword form in front of Judith, panting heavily as he awaited her feedback. Judith flashed a confident thumbs up, and the instructors officially confirmed that Aaron had passed the test and earned an immediate promotion to Class C. In the cafeteria, an arrogant noble named Lance mocked Judith's massive appetite, but Judith smirked back and called him out for being flustered. Brat immediately stepped in and ordered Lance to back off, before sitting with Judith and Aaron to ask why they were acting so cold toward each other. When Aaron asked if Judith had gotten closer with Ilya since they were both in Class A, Judith got flustered and told him to ask Ilya himself. Judith noted that Ilya's overwhelming presence kept everyone at a distance, mentioning that she practiced her family's vision swordsmanship alone at the Soyon Armory every evening. Later during physical drills, Judith launched a barrage of fierce attacks at Aaron, driving him back with terrifying intensity. Aaron struggled desperately to block her crushing strikes, barely holding his ground as her blade slammed repeatedly against his guard. Judith unleashed a powerful vertical slash, grinning in amusement as Eren somehow absorbed the impact and held his footing. With one final explosive strike, Judith sent Eren flying through the air, crashing hard onto the stone floor in a heap. Teasing him that he still wasn't on her level, Judith called it a day and casually mentioned that Ilya was likely training alone at the armory right now. Eren walked over to the Soyan armory, where Ilya Lindsay stood in the courtyard swinging her sword in total isolation. Nervously stepping forward, Iran greeted her and held out a small package, explaining that it was a letter and a gift sent from his home territory. When Ilya coldly asked why he was giving it to her, Eren explained that his younger sister had sent it, making him think of her. He added that since he was bad with words, sending a letter felt like the best way to express his thoughts, before Ilya sharply asked if he expected more help in return. Eren apologized for interrupting her training and quietly walked away, leaving Ilya alone under the night sky. Sitting down in private, Ilya unwrapped the package to find a delicate silver bracelet and a heartfelt letter, clutching the items in intense emotion. She unleashed a violent burst of sword aura into the empty hall, realizing she had been far too wrapped up in her own isolation. The next day on the training grounds, Brat Lloyd approached Eren and Judith, calling out to get their attention. To Judith's complete disbelief, Brat announced that he wanted to train with Eren regularly, admitting that Eren possessed a deep level of concentration that he lacked. He offered to teach Iren advanced sword techniques in exchange, proposing that they cover each other's weaknesses and grow together. Judith angrily accused Brat of shamelessly using Eren for his own benefit, but Brat openly admitted it, arguing that efficiency was what mattered most. When Eren self-deprecatingly asked if a Class C trainee could really teach him anything, Brat firmly cut him off. Brat reflected on their duel, recognizing that while everyone shared the same limited hours, the sheer density of time Eren spent in absolute focus was extraordinary. When Brat asked how he maintained such intense focus, Eren honestly replied that he didn't know, prompting Brat to chuckle that all true geniuses say the same thing. Brat told Eren to stop putting himself down, reminding him that he was born of noble blood and had proven himself worthy of standing proud. The trio officially began joint training, with Brat correcting Eren's thrusting mechanics and body alignment during heavy practice swings. After finishing their session and sharing a meal, Iren met Ilya in passing, where she softly mentioned that she had read the letter. Later that night in bed, Judith teased him about confessing his feelings, while Iren lay awake pondering Brat's words about deepening his concentration. Picturing the mysterious swordsman from his dream, Iren suddenly felt a vivid, physical sensation coursing through his hands. Gasping in realization, he jumped out of bed into the dark night, desperate to grab a sword before the fleeting sensation vanished. Noticeably exhausted from training all night, Eren slumped over his desk during class with his sword in hand, leaving Brat and Judith whispering in bewilderment. When Brat and Judith checked on his bizarre behavior, a sheepish Irene admitted he was trying a new method to improve his concentration, though it hadn't gone very well. Curious about Iren's intense mental focus, Brat asks him about his meditation training and decides to try it out for himself. Brat lies down on a bench to clear his mind, slowly convincing himself that the process is making him calmer. Judith interrupts his piece, pointing out that he wasn't meditating at all, he was just snoring and drooling in his sleep. Refusing to give up, Brat sits cross-legged on the floor, while Judith warns him that Eren's unique methods won't work for just anyone. Meanwhile, the school instructors report to Swordmaster Ian that Eren has officially been promoted to Class B thanks to his rapid growth alongside Brat and Judith. They also note that Brat is stirring up his own impressive waves among the trainees. In the training grounds, Brat secures another decisive win, standing victorious over his fallen sparring partner. Judith glares at him in frustration, but the instructors watching from afar praise both of them for their astounding rate of improvement. Brat pumps his fist in triumph, feeling his technique sharpen with every passing day as he pushes his body to the limit. Nearby, Ilya Lindsay trains in total isolation, her white hair swaying with every silent swing of her blade. Deep in the forest, Aren repeatedly drives his blade downward, gasping for breath as he credits his meditation training for his recent improvements. Brat notices Eren leaning heavily on simple vertical slashes and interrupts him, announcing that the Swordmaster has called everyone to gather. The trainees take their seats in the Grand Hall, where Swordmaster Ian steps forward to announce the arrival of their final evaluation. He explains that unlike the midterm, this test will not measure rigid time limits or raw round counts, but will instead evaluate their potential ability and future growth. Ian encourages the students to showcase whatever area of swordsmanship they excel in most over the remaining 90 days. To inspire them, the old master offers to perform a sword dance before the crowd. Ian steps into motion, his blade erupting with brilliant blue energy that shatters the air and blasts shockwaves across the arena. Arcing surges of power slice through the room, forcing the trainees to shield their faces from the blinding pressure of his blade. Brat watches in awe, covered in grit and sweat, as Ian brings his sword to a standstill and wishes them good luck. The demonstration leaves Irene staring at his hands in silence, deeply questioning what his own true path of the sword really is. The next day, Brat and Judith sit on a bench discussing the incredible display, with Brat bringing up Irene's current progress. Judith worries that Irene is spending too much time meditating right before the finals, but Brat assures her that Irene will definitely pass. Brat points out that since the test grades future growth rather than current mastery, no one has shown greater potential over the past 9 months than Erin. Judith boldly claims she will take first place, but Brat casually reminds her that Ilya Lindsay stands in her way. He explains that Ilya comes from the most prestigious family on the continent and carries a style whose heritage cannot be ignored. Judith snarls in response, pointing out that Ilya's genius brother was once defeated by a common orphan and couldn't even show his face afterward. The air instantly freezes as Ilya herself steps out from behind them, her sharp blue eyes locking onto Judith with cold intensity. Ilya coldly states that whispers and insults behind her back mean nothing to her. Judith challenges her to a duel on the spot, but Ilya turns away, declaring that first place will remain hers regardless. When Brat demands to see the Lindsay family's famed sky sword style, Ilya refuses to indulge him. Brat narrows his eyes and warns her that if she refuses to draw her family's blade, he will take first place right out of her hands. Late into the night, Aaron swings his sword in an empty hallway, frustrated that his form still feels wrong. He flashes back to the warrior in his dreams and realizes he has been blindly copying physical stances instead of training his internal mind. Refocusing his breath, Aaron shifts his weight and channels his entire focus into his core before unleashing a heavy strike. The next day, Aaron thanks Brad, telling him that his earlier advice about concentration completely changed his perspective. Judith cuts the sentimental moment short, telling him to stop talking nonsense and draw their swords. Judith lunges at Brat with vicious speed, her blade whistling through the air as he barely manages to parry her heavy blows. Brat grit his teeth under her onslaught, realizing Judith isn't just faster. Her hits are striking with terrifying weight. He pushes past his limits and drives her back, forcing Judith to admit to herself that her current skills still fall short against him. An explosive clash detonates between them, leaving Brat standing tall as he wipes the sweat from his brow. Judith stares at him in disbelief, shocked that Brat managed to maintain his composure without getting angry once during the brawl. Brat smiles quietly to himself, feeling the undeniable surge of strength coursing through his body after pushing through his limits. In the quiet practice hall, Judith finds Aaron staring blankly at a wooden sword, clearly stuck in a rut. She pulls him outside to get some fresh air, leading him to a quiet, grassy field where they can sit and rest. Judith asks if he feels confident for the finals, and Aaron softly answers that he will just keep trying his best. Judith grows quiet, looking away as she apologizes for being absent lately, reminding him of how they used to spar and learn from each other. She admits she lived her life without ever receiving or giving help until the day Aaron saved her from drowning, making her want to repay him. She urges him to pass the finals and become a full-time trainee alongside her, promising to support him so he never feels uneasy. Blushing from her own confession, Judith tells him to stay behind for 5 minutes so they aren't seen walking together, then marches away. Aaron watches her leave, reflecting on how much he has changed from the lazy noble who used to spend his entire life in bed. Looking up at the open sky, he feels immense gratitude for his friends, instructors, and the time he spent at the academy. Realizing that meditation is the act of training the mind rather than copying physical forms, Aaron resolves to pull his true power out from within. With his mind set and sword strapped to his back, Aaron steps out into the central arena as the final evaluation officially begins. Trainee after trainee steps up to perform, driving their blades through massive stone blocks placed on pedestals, while the slices leave clean cross-sections. Swordmaster Ian watches from his seat, feeling the performances are still somewhat underwhelming. When Judith is called forward, she asks Ian if she can undergo her evaluation through a live spar to truly showcase her strength. Ian agrees, and Brat steps up as her opponent, stepping onto the tiled field with a confident smirk. Judith explodes forward with dual blades, unleashing a relentless barrage of wild strikes that forces Brat onto the defensive. Sparks fly wildly as their blades collide with deafening cracks, shocking the crowd of trainees watching from the stands. They weave through the arena at frightening speed, exchanging high-velocity blows that shatter the air around them. Judith launches herself into the air for a heavy descending blow, but Brat meets her mid-strike with a decisive counter. Brat locks his weapon against hers, absorbing her merciless strikes and overpowering her momentum with refined technique. Judith collapses to the stone floor, catching her breath as she bitterly accepts that she couldn't surpass him in the end. The instructor praises both fighters for an incredible duel before Ian calls the next trainee forward. Ilya. Lindsay steps to the front, quietly announcing that she will demonstrate her family's signature swordsmanship style. She draws her sword, and a roaring tempest of blue and purple energy instantly erupts from her blade. Ilya glides across the arena, raining down a sequence of ethereal, wind-infused strikes that shatter the ground beneath her. The spectators gasp in terror, while Ian and the instructors recognize the devastating majesty of the true Sky Sword style. Staring at the aftermath, Brat drops his head in despair, feeling like an insurmountable wall separates him from Ilya's genius. The instructors announce Iran's turn, and Brat cheers him on out loud, trying to hide the dark dread twisting in his gut. Recalling how Aaron called him a good person, Brat's mind spirals as he looks at Aaron's back, realizing he isn't as noble as people think. Sweat drips down Brat's face as he watches Irene walk to the center, desperately praying in his heart that Irene shows nothing special today. Swordmaster, Ian asks Irene what he will demonstrate, and Irene calmly states he will perform a single vertical slash. Lance Peterson speaks up from the crowd, mocking Aaron and claiming a simple vertical slash has no practical value in a final test. Aaron ignores the chatter completely, standing motionless in the center of the vast hall with his blade pointed downward. The room falls dead silent as the trainees realize Aaron is entering a deep state of meditation right in front of them. Aaron stabilizes his breathing, clearing away all outside noise as he dives completely into his own mind. Glowing blue energy begins to coil around his feet as Aaron prepares to draw out the immense power buried deep within his soul. Channeling the relentless memory of the warrior from his dreams, Aaron drives his entire spirit into a singular strike, swinging his sword with unyielding steel will. The raw weight of his conviction detonates across the arena, shattering the air in a blinding flash of force. Shockwaves rip through the floor as Aaron completes his vertical slash, leaving the crowd gasping under the crushing pressure. Energy surges and dies down, leaving Aaron standing amidst the residual heat while Brat watches in utter disbelief. Exhausted and panting heavily, Aaron lowers his weapon while Judith and Brat stare at him in complete shock. Brat winces in turmoil, unable to process the terrifying strength Aaron unleashed with a single strike. The instructor steps onto the stage to announce the long-awaited rankings of the final assessment from the bottom up. Judith secures 4th place, while Brat Lloyd claims 3rd, both absorbing the gravity of the results. The instructors announce Irene Pereira in 2nd place, right behind Ilya Lindsay, who takes 1st place overall. After the assembly breaks up, Ilya finds Aaron sitting alone in the hallway to speak with him directly. Sitting side by side on a bench, Ilya admits that taking 1st place was fun this time because Iron's sword was so intimidating. Aaron praises her stunning sky sword technique, but Ilya turns serious and reveals she won't be remaining at Chrono Academy. Aaron gapes in shock at her sudden news, before Ilya asks if he knows about Carl Lindsay, the continent's greatest genius. She explains that Carl is her older brother, a prodigy whose name was famous across the entire continent when she was just 7 years old. Ilya recounts how her brother shouldered immense expectations, until a commoner named Ignat refused full admission to Chrono and challenged him. Carl accepted the sparring match, but Ignat completely shattered him in just 3 strikes. Watching her idolized brother crumble under public ridicule broke Ilya's heart as Carl fell into deep despair and failed to ever recover. Determined never to let others control her fate, Ilya entered Chrono at age 12 specifically to beat Ignat's timeline, realizing only recently that she was still letting Ignat control her goals. She declares she is done chasing someone else's legacy and thanks Eren for showing her what it means to walk one's own path. Ilya resolves to follow her own heart from now on, reassuring Eren that he has already looked beyond the confines of the academy. When Eren admits he still lacks a clear goal, Ilya tells him not to relax, warning him that she will widen the gap between them if he falters. Alone again, Eren grips his sword and wonders if he is truly on the right track with how things stand. Meanwhile, Judith finds Brat standing in an off-limits area, but Brat abruptly turns his back and announces he is quitting the academy. Bitterly comparing his years of training to Eren's explosive progress after just 1 year, Brat spiraled into believing that only the chosen can achieve true greatness. Furious at his self-pity, Judith punches Brat square in the face and mocks him for failing to dodge her fist after deflecting all her slashes. She forcefully tackles him and screams that if he calls Eren chosen, he's insulting everyone who lost to a coward like him. Judith orders him to be proud of beating the continent's top young talent and berates him for running away over something so trivial, leaving Brat silently reflecting on her words. A few days later, Ilya thanks Swordmaster Ian for his guidance as she officially prepares to take her leave from Chrono. Ian meets with Brat next, praising him for discarding his stubbornness, fixing his faults, and serving as a model trainee despite his self-doubt. Seeing Brat's hollow eyes as he apologizes for losing confidence, Ian quietly permits him to leave, hoping an opportunity will reignite his spirit. Finally, Ian calls Eren into his office to offer a proposal and asks him a fundamental question. Ian directly asks Eren for his true reason for swinging his sword, leaving Eren stammering in confusion. Ian points out that unlike Brat's joy or Judith's passion, Eren did not enter swordsmanship out of his own free will and shows no natural emotion for the blade. Ian bluntly accuses Eren of merely imitating someone else, which Eren quietly admits is true. Ian advises him that if he intends to continue on this path, he must find his own reason, warning that without one, there is no purpose in staying at the academy. Ian explains that Chrono is a place to find one's purpose in life and takes a drop of Eren's blood to forge his official graduation mark. Outside, Ilya hands Eren an ornate insignia, inviting him to visit her home whenever he has time. She promises to gift him pheasant's eye flowers, the same ones on the bracelet he gave her, and Eren enthusiastically agrees to come. Judith approaches Ilya and apologizes for mocking her and her family earlier, which Ilya calmly accepts. Eren smiles at the peaceful resolution, causing Judith to playfully threaten him before they spot Brat walking toward a carriage. Brat turns to them, admitting he was about to give up compared to them, but thanks Eren for pushing him to improve. Eren thanks his friends in return, explaining that meeting them allowed him to reflect on his past, learn about himself, and move forward. Brat boards his family's carriage to leave, while Eren shouts after him, urging them to grow stronger and meet again. Watchful servants thank Judith and Eren for being Brat's friends, leaving Judith feeling a bit awkward as the carriage departs. High above, Ian watches from his office, calling Eren a unique genius of effort compared to all other prodigies. Standing alone in the courtyard, Judith sighs as she feels the solitude, only for a familiar voice to tease her from behind. She turns in disbelief to find Brat standing right there with a smug grin, asking if she missed him. Judith screams in fury, but Brat smugly reveals he begged Ian on his knees to let him re-enroll, refusing to abandon his talent. On the road back home, Eren stares out his carriage window, looking down at the platinum label of the Lindsay family in his palm. His attendant gasps in disbelief upon realizing Ilya. Lindsay gave Eren her family's highest emblem, while Eren casually settles in for a nap. Stopping at an inn for the night, Eren sits cross-legged on the bed, deep in silent meditation as his attendant worries over him. Downstairs, the attendant spots a tattooed orc seer wearing a hexagram pendant and decides to get a fortune to cheer Eren up. The seer offers various fortunes before suddenly stopping to ask Eren his age, to which Eren answers that he is 16. Before leaving, the seer hands Eren a scroll, privately marveling at how a 16-year-old could possess such a dense, powerful body of energy. The next morning, the attendant apologizes for bringing a quack seer, but Eren reads the note's message reminding him that there is no need to be alone to stand alone. Eren clarifies that he didn't fail his evaluation, leaving his attendant in total shock. As Aaron explains, he passed under the condition that he finish Ian's homework. Suddenly, a luxury carriage approaches them on the dirt path, belonging to the rival Viscount Gairoun family. Aaron's group recognizes Aaron Gairoun, the arrogant second son of the family that previously humiliated and ignored Aaron. Aaron steps out and mockingly asks if Aaron has returned from Chrono, assuming he is still the same weak noble as before. When Aaron taunts him about learning swordsmanship from his family, Aaron calmly asks if he has anything else to say and offers to leave. Aaron grips Aaron's hand with full force, intending to crush it and see him cry out in pain. To Aaron's shock, Aaron's hand doesn't budge at all, radiating an immovable pressure that leaves Aaron sweating in sheer terror. Realizing he was supposed to squeeze back, Aaron applies a fraction of his strength, instantly crushing Aaron's grip and making him scream in agony. Aaron politely apologizes for failing to control his strength and bids them farewell, while a mysterious, talking black cat watches nearby. As Aaron continues his journey, magic is reflected upon as a study of strict logic, unlike the unexplainable phenomena unfolding before them. When natural laws are completely ignored, the resulting phenomenon can only be explained through the power of mystic arts. Unwilling to risk a disastrous conflict with a mystic, Jack Stewart politely apologizes on behalf of Aaron Gairoun's party before they quickly take their leave. The black cat watches them walk away, complaining that they are leaving without even having a spar. Swinging around a tiny blade in demonstration, the cat urges them to fight before Aaron's party boards their carriage and departs. Aaron watches the cat carefully while his attendant resolves to investigate its true identity as soon as they reach the castle. Back at the manor, Lord Harun Pereira warmly greets Irene, expressing how deeply proud he is that his son's swordsmanship talent was acknowledged at the academy. Aaron's father explains that the cat is a mystic named Ruru who requested to teach Kirill, while the estate guard notes Ruru is stronger than any capital mystic. Aaron states that Kirill's own intentions matter most, but Kirill turns to him with a glare, demanding to know what he thinks. As Kirill's famous stubbornness flared up, Aaron panicked internally over how angry she was after being separated for a whole year. Remembering he brought something back, Aaron steps forward and hands Kirill a homecoming gift. Flustered by the unexpected present, Kirill stammers out a sharp thank you and tells him not to make her repeat herself. Suddenly, Ruru pops out from behind Kirill to greet Irene, noting how similar he smells to his sister, before Kirill angrily shoves the cat away. Kirill demands to know why Ruru is still here, and the cat accidentally blurts out that she came to persuade Aaron instead. Ruru carelessly admits that Irene looks easier to win over, and lets slip that Kirill loves her brother very much, instantly realizing she said something she shouldn't have. Kirill drops to her knees in embarrassment and screams that she will never become Ruru's student, forcing the cat to beg for forgiveness. Harun chuckles at the chaos and tells everyone to focus on hearing about Aaron's time at the academy. Later in his room, Aaron lies in bed and resolves that he will not waste time or procrastinate in finding his own way of the sword. He informs his attendant that he will head to the training grounds at dawn, dismissing concerns that he must still be exhausted from his long journey. Aaron laughs off the fatigue, eager to finally hold a blade again after 2 weeks on the road. Back at the Gairoun estate, Viscount Gairoun slams his desk in fury upon learning that Irene returned from the academy transformed. The Viscount screams in rage at Jack Stewart for allowing Aaron to be humiliated by someone he considered weak. His eldest son, Ryan Gairoun, steps forward to calm his father, proposing a plan to crush the growing sprout before it can bloom. Ryan points out that the upcoming Southern Union Conference hosted on the Pereira territory is the perfect opportunity to drag Aaron back down to the bottom. The Viscount laughs in approval, while Jack Stewart internally notes how much nastier and more calculating Ryan is compared to his father. At dawn on the Pereira estate, local knights gather at the training ground, complaining about the early morning drills while discussing the upcoming expedition. They spot Irene already training and whisper among themselves, wondering if he was kicked out of the academy despite his improved physique. Their jaws drop in disbelief when they witness Irene effortlessly performing pull-ups with a massive weight plate strapped to his waist. Aaron continues his intense physical conditioning without breaking a sweat, leaving the surrounding guards completely stunned. Ruru watches him from the wooden railing, but Aaron ignores her presence to maintain total focus on his drills. Aaron knows that to find his own blade, he must stop imitating the Dream Warrior and train using the fundamental principles he learned at Chrono. A week later, the local knights run alongside Eren, gasping for air and collapsing in exhaustion, while Eren maintains perfectly stable breathing. Looking at the struggling men, Eren reflects on how his friends at Chrono endured far harder training completely unassisted. A guard pulls Eren aside to whisper a warning, mentioning rumors that the cat mystic brings misfortune to everyone around her. Finishing his training, Eren calls out to Ruru in the hall, asking why she hasn't tried to persuade him like she originally claimed. Ruru leaps down and pulls out a glowing cat's-eye gem as a bribe, causing Marcus to gasp that a stone that size could buy a quarter of the Parera territory. Ruru smiles proudly at Marcus's valuation, while Marcus panics over putting his young master in a tricky situation. Eren asks why she is willing to offer something so precious just to teach Kirill, but Ruru simply replies that she has no special reason. Ruru explains that humans care far too much about gold, pulling out a woven wooden ball and a foxtail from her youth to show her true priceless treasures. Ruru urges him to take the gem and speak to Kirill for her, but Eren directly refuses the bribe. When Ruru shouts in shock, Eren explains that he agrees there are things far more important than money, leaving her utterly baffled. Ruru huffs that he is still an easier target than Kirill, before suddenly panicking and telling him there is a massive problem. Eren braces for danger, only for Ruru to complain that she feels nervous eating alone, leaving Eren deadpanning at her absurdity. The next day, Ruru rushes up to him again with nonsensical questions, making Eren laugh aloud at her antics. His smile fades as he recalls Swordmaster Ian's directive to find his own way of the sword within a year, realizing he has no time to waste. Eren grabs his sword and runs off into the quiet hall, agonizing over how lost he feels now that he left the academy. He swings his blade with desperate force, but realizes in frustration that his hands are still blindly repeating the Dream Warrior's movements. Dropping his hands in defeat, Eren sighs as Ruru suddenly appears in the shadows and asks if he has ever learned mystic arts. Ruru drops her playful demeanor and commands him to become her disciple, but Eren flatly refuses, stating he is a swordsman. Ruru explains that while swordsmen focus on internal aura and magicians analyze external mana, mystics operate on a completely different logic. She reveals that mystics make stubborn demands of the world, altering reality through an unrivaled power of the heart. Ruru states that when Eren swung his sword, she felt an unbreakable will inside him. That is more than enough to learn her arts. Eren apologizes and turns her down again, admitting that the terrifying will she felt inside his strike belongs to someone else's sword, not his own. When Ruru excitedly asks if he is possessed, Eren firmly tells her that he refuses to awaken mystic arts through another person's will. Ruru points out that his own basic swings lack that spark, leaving Eren dejected as he realizes he is back to square one. Ruru tells him that his basic practice wasn't real effort, calling it a complete waste of time if he isn't putting his own mind into it. Later in his room, Marcus visits Eren to inform him about the upcoming Southern Union Expedition Conference and to share unsettling news about Ruru. Marcus reveals dark rumors linking Ruru to the destruction of a mystic guild, the fall of a merchant group, and the death of a noble disciple. Eren meets Ruru in private and reassures her, stating he won't be swayed by rumors because he knows what it feels like to be judged, believing she is a good person. Eren smiles gently at the cat, telling her it is okay because he faced his fair share of bad rumors as the deadbeat noble. 1 week later, the Southern Union Conference begins as Lord Harun Pereira warmly greets the arriving Viscount Gairoun at the estate gates. Inside the grand hall, the rival noble houses assemble, with Harun warning Eren to be especially cautious of Viscount Phil Gairoun. Harun raises a toast for peace, but as Eren awkwardly takes a sip of his bitter wine, he notices the surrounding lords staring at him. Ryan Gairon immediately steps forward to mock him, publicly lecturing Eren on holding the wineglass by its stem so heat doesn't ruin the flavor. Ryan condescendingly instructs him to stretch out his pinky finger to preserve spice etiquette, declaring that fine manners distinguish nobles from commoners. As the lords discuss music, Ryan immediately turns to Eren and scoffs when Eren admits he doesn't listen to music, claiming fine culture is essential for nobles. Ryan's sharp insults subtly target Lord Harun's parenting, framing Eren's lack of refined manners as the embarrassing result of his father's neglect and laziness. Overwhelmed by the humiliation brought upon his father, Eren apologizes, excuses himself from the banquet, and leaves the hall. He rushes out to the courtyard, gripping his hands tightly as he comes to grips with the silent pain his father endured for years to shield him. Tears stream down Eren's face as he gasps for breath, cursing himself for being such a terrible son. He draws his sword and swings it wildly into the air, only for Ruru to step out of the shadows and call his actions completely pointless. Ruru lectures him that overworking his body is not true effort, asking Eren if he can honestly say he poured his entire heart into his swings. Before Eren can answer, Martin Russell interrupts them, sneering that 1 year at the academy is far too short for a lazy noble to learn proper swordsmanship. Martin's arrogance turns to anger as Eren raises his blade, daring Martin to step forward and test his skills. Martin accepts the challenge, boasting that someone with only a single year of training stands no chance against him. Before Martin can even finish his sentence, Iran lunges forward, driving his wooden sword down with terrifying velocity and blasting Martin backward in an instant. Stunned on the ground, Martin stammers that Eren cheated by attacking without an official start signal, but Eren calmly tells him to get up and come at him again. Martin Russell steps in to take over the fight, claiming Eren only won because Kevin let his guard down, promising to handle Eren himself. The noble charges forward, swinging his blade wildly, but Eren stands his ground and easily parries every single strike. Heavy blows begin to drain the attacker, whose arms grow numb under the punishing weight of Iron's relentless defense. With his hands raw and bleeding from the impact, the opponent backs away in sheer terror, as Eren asks if he is done attacking. The surrounding spectators intervene to stop the beating, urging the battered fighter to give up before his hands are permanently ruined. Ryan Garon steps forward with a smirk, proposing they take things seriously and switch to real swords instead. Ryan offers Eren the first strike out of arrogance, but Eren calmly accepts the match without a hint of hesitation. Ryan draws his steel blade, calling Eren a coward while taunting him to step forward and fight. Eren closes his eyes, exhales slowly, and releases a wave of dense, suffocating aura that instantly paralyzes the entire yard. Overwhelmed by the sheer pressure, Ryan panics and leaps backward in horror, staggering to his knees without their blades ever making contact. Unable to accept his defeat, Ryan screams in anger, but his own sword shatters under the residual shockwave of Iron's presence. The watching lords gasp in complete disbelief as the rest of the noble family arrives, shocked to find Ryan defeated on the floor. To save face, Ryan lies to the group, claiming he intentionally threw the spar to mend relations with the Pereira family. The surrounding lords take the bait, praising Ryan for his diplomacy and expressing envy over Eren's massive growth. Later, Eren approaches his father and firmly requests to participate in the upcoming monster subjugation expedition to prove his strength. He promises to show his full potential over the next 3 weeks to put an end to his family's worries once and for all. Determined never to see his family mocked again, Eren swings his blade in the courtyard, swearing to lift every burden off their shoulders. Eren turns to Ruru and asks if his current efforts still look wasted, to which Ruru confirms that he is finally pouring his true heart into it. When Eren asks if he can now learn mystic arts, Ruru nods and agrees to teach him, telling him to put his feelings in order first. The next day, Ruru wears small glasses and explains that to awaken mystic arts, he needs a heart strong enough to turn his wish of protecting his family into reality. She reveals that mystic arts rely on absolute belief, warning him against dark sacrifices that invite demonic temptation. Ruru forms a contract with him, telling him to pour his whole heart into every daily swing as if making a solemn vow. She emphasizes that while standard training guarantees nothing, a strike backed by a true contract grows stronger with every passing day. Eren's consciousness retreats deep into his own mind, causing Kirill to scream in panic as a glowing sphere engulfs her brother. Ruru explains that Iren has entered the space of his own heart, an isolated domain where no one can interfere until he achieves a result he is satisfied with. Inside his mind space, Eren opens his eyes and finds himself standing before a familiar stone wall, watching the dream warrior swing his blade in silence. Waking up on the hard ground within his mental realm, Eren realizes he is still trapped inside the dream world. He realizes this is the space created by his wish, an isolated domain where he can train without any outside distractions. Realizing he can bend the environment inside his mind, Eren calls forth spring weather, gentle breezes, and feasts of food to create his ideal training world. Realizing he cannot leave until his goal is met, Eren grips his sword with newfound resolve, pouring his entire heart into every strike to find his true way of the sword. Inside his mental domain, Eren pushes his body beyond its limits, increasing his daily sword swings from 3,000 to over 5,000 strikes. As fatigue sets in and self-doubt creeps in, he forces himself to ignore his doubts and keep swinging his blade. By day 353 of his mental isolation, his physical output drops sharply as sheer exhaustion begins to break his momentum. Struggling to reach even 4,000 swings, Eren stops for the day, collapsing into bed by day 624. Deprived of the dream warrior who suddenly vanished, Eren gives up in despair, believing his entire progress was nothing more than empty imitation. Lying motionless in bed, he laments that a full year of relentless practice crumbled into nothing the moment his inspiration disappeared. Suddenly, a projection of Ilya. Lindsay bursts into his room and orders him to get out of bed immediately. Eren gapes in complete shock as Ilya drags him straight into physical training without giving him a moment to process what is happening. Ilya forces him to pick up his pace during daily runs before ordering him to eat so they can jump straight into sparring. When Eren questions her presence, Ilya scolds him and reminds him that Ruru taught him to fill his empty heart before striking. What? After forcing him through 2,000 more swings, Ilya vanishes into thin air, leaving Eren to realize she was a projection formed by his own mind. The next morning, a projection of Judith barges into his room, screaming at him for oversleeping and demanding he get up. Joining her, a projection of Brat Lloyd offers steady encouragement as both friends challenge Eren to relentless sparring matches. Surrounding himself with his friend's belief, Eren marvels at how much trust they place in someone who used to be so weak and lazy. Though his legs burn and fatigue threatens to break him, Eren feels a newfound strength pushing him forward. Eren drives forward in a fierce duel against Brat, forcing the refined noble onto the defensive for the very first time. Realizing Ruru was right all along, Eren understands that relying on the people he trusts gives him the strength to overcome any hurdle. With his doubts cleared, Eren bids his mental companions farewell and resets his training regimen with total determination. Time flows relentlessly inside his mind domain, passing from day 1,237 to well over 1,300 days of continuous practice. Seasons change and years bleed together as Eren relentlessly swings his blade past day 1,755. Reflecting on his progress, Eren summons the mental projections of Brat, Judith, and Ilya back to test his growth. Rather than dueling them individually, Eren raises his sword and boldly challenges all three of his friends to attack him simultaneously. Though his friends tease him for his new confidence, Eren stands firm, completely conviction-bound that he will not fall. The four fighters clash in an explosive exchange of high-speed slashes and defensive parries across the courtyard. Brat gasps in shock when Eren flawlessly executes Judith's explosive offensive parry to neutralize an incoming strike. When they ask how he mastered their distinct techniques, Eren explains that he simply poured every ounce of his effort into studying and absorbing their strengths. Eren humbly asks them to keep teaching him their swordsmanship, causing Judith to scream in anger and call him a shameless thief for copying them so easily. When Eren casually suggests Judith awaken mystic arts as well, she loses her temper completely and throws her sword directly at his head. After a final intense clash, the projections concede defeat, leaving Eren satisfied that he has finally achieved the result he sought. Feeling ready to return to the real world, Eren walks up to the massive exit structure of his mental domain. Finding the Dream Warrior's sword embedded in front of the locked gate, Eren realizes the blade itself serves as the key to his escape. Noticing the blade fits his hands perfectly now that he has grown, he chuckles at the irony of needing the Dream Warrior's sword to leave the world created to escape it. Eren reflects that while meeting the Dream Warrior sparked his journey, every step he ran and every swing he made over the past 5 years was powered by his own will. Drawing the blade, Eren unleashes a blinding wave of light that shatters the mental domain around him, bringing his long consciousness back to reality. Eren sits up in his real-world bed, assuming only a short time passed, before spotting a white cat that turns out not to be Ruru. Calling out to Marcus, Eren is shocked to see deep wrinkles on his attendant's face, while Marcus bursts into tears of pure joy over his young master's long-awaited return. Marcus bursts into tears of sheer relief, holding Eren tight after believing he would never escape his state. Reality finally hits Eren as Marcus tearfully reveals that 5 whole years have passed while he was trapped inside the barrier. Anxious for his family, Eren rushes to ask if they are safe, only for his parents to embrace him with emotional tears. Eren drops to his knees to apologize for all the grief he caused, but his father passionately cuts him off, overflowing with pure gratitude just to have his son back. When Eren asks about his younger sister Kuril, he learns she moved to the Caesar Principality to train as the disciple of a magnificent mystic named Skinna. Realizing he put his family through so much pain once again, Eren resolves to give everything he has to make things right from now on. He acknowledges how painful it must have been for his parents every single day, but reassures them that he trained harder than anyone else and achieved massive results. Looking to prove his growth, Eren announces that since it is April, he will participate in the upcoming monster subjugation next month. Before anyone can process the declaration, a stern voice demands to know whose permission he has, as Kuril steps into the hall wearing official robes. Eren smiles warmly and remarks on how much Kuril has grown, but she scolds him for smiling in such a serious situation. Confused as to why she left the principality, Eren listens as Kuril firmly declares that she intends to take his place in the subjugation. Eren tries to reassure her that he grew significantly stronger inside the barrier, but Kuril insists it is her duty to go and raise the family's honor. Seeing his determination, Kuril demands a duel on the spot so he can prove he is actually worthy of stepping onto the battlefield. She orders him to follow her, eager to show off the extraordinary power she unlocks during her time away. Out in the courtyard, onlookers express shock at seeing the young master alive, wondering why a sudden spar is breaking out. Kuril urges him to hurry up and prepare, but Eren stands totally calm, declaring he is already set. She warns him not to make her repeat herself, pointing out that he does not even have a sword in his hands. Before she can finish, Eren focuses his mind, summoning a weapon out of thin air with a violent surge of force. Kuril and the surrounding onlookers gasp in utter shock, realizing that Eren just summoned a sword using pure mystic arts. Unshaken, Kuril unleashes a ferocious wave of magical energy, calling out for the match to officially begin. Overwhelmed by the intense pressure, Eren staggers back, realizing his arm feels like it will snap just from deflecting her strikes. Kuril presses the assault with overwhelming power, unleashing blinding waves of light that tear through the arena. Watching from the sidelines, spectators grow anxious, questioning why Eren is focusing entirely on defense without launching a single counterattack. Unable to hold back her emotions, Kuril breaks down sobbing and calls him an idiot, leaning into Eren as 5 years of suppressed worry pour out. Eren gently comforts his sister, telling her not to worry because he is stepping onto the field with absolute confidence. Back inside the estate, Kuril warns him to be extremely careful, revealing that this year's subjugation is far more dangerous due to the appearance of a demonoid. She explains that a demonoid's traces were spotted a month ago, describing them as twisted beings who gained massive power through dark contracts. Terrified for her brother, Kuril impulsively announces that she will join the subjugation as well, refusing to let him go alone. A flamboyant woman interrupts the argument, teasing Kuril about an important upcoming event and introducing herself as the legendary mystic Skinna. Eren is stunned to learn. This youthful-looking woman is over 50 years old, jumping in shock when he thinks she read his exact thoughts. Kuril tries to warn him that her master is a complete mess outside of magic, but Skinna playfully exposes how Kuril spent the last 5 years constantly talking about her brother. Flustered, Kuril orders her master to be quiet, prompting Skinna to apologize to Eren for the chaotic impression. Skinna hands Eren a special artifact created with Kuril, explaining that it detects high levels of demonic energy and neutralizes deadly poisons. She notes that this is the most energetic Kuril has been in 5 years, and Eren sincerely thanks her, promising to keep it safe. With his parents safe, his sister under a great master, and Ruru's memory guiding him, Eren prepares to head out to the front lines. Meanwhile, at the Gaerun Territory Provisional Base, warriors gather as rumors spread about Ruru's mysterious disappearance from the estate. Eren talks to his sister about the cat's mysterious disappearance. reminding her that it wasn't Ruru's fault she left, and promises to greet the cat warmly if they ever cross paths again. Nearby noble participants mock Iren's presence, questioning why someone with zero battle experience is bothering to join a deadly subjugation. However, former comrades step forward to greet Iren warmly, genuinely glad to see him alive and back in action. Excitement builds through the camp as soldiers announce that Vice Captain Hill Burnett of the Twilight Night Order is taking personal command of the operation. Stepping before the assembled nobles, Commander Hill Burnett cold shoulders the crowd, blatantly telling them it is best if they do not participate at all. Outraged nobles protest the insult, but Burnett blasts them with a suffocating wave of heavy aura that forces weak-willed fighters to their knees. He declares that his elite knights possess true loyalty to destroy the demonoid, refusing to baby glory, seeking aristocrats who only care about status. While many nobles sweat and tremble under the immense pressure, a few determined swordsmen, including Ryan Guerin, fight through the weight to stand tall. Ryan bows and apologizes for his initial lax attitude, promising to match the order's intensity if given a chance, causing Burnett to laugh off his harsh test as a joke. Burnett warns everyone to stay sharp, ordering the troops to reach peak condition before marching into battle the next day. In private, Burnett acknowledges Ryan's potential, but is soon visited by Lord Tom Miller, a veteran wandering knight. In their discussion about Tom Miller's disciple, Burnett thinks he's being too hard on him and brings up the legendary golden generation of the Chrono Swordsmanship Academy, comparing top prodigies to the incredible genius Ilya Lindsay. Tom shocks the commander by revealing there was another trainee who matched Ilya point for point in the final evaluation, performing feats that left witnesses utterly stunned. When Burnett demands to know who this monster is, Tom reveals the young warrior participating right in their subjugation is none other than Ian Pereira. Out on the march, the subjugation force takes a short break, where ambitious nobles like Ryan perform flashy sword drills to catch the commander's eye. Spectators watch eagerly as Commander Burnett approaches the training area, but Ryan's heart drops when the commander walks right past him. Burnett stops directly in front of Eren, who is resting quietly under a tree wrapped in a dark cloak. Addressing him directly as subjugation commander, Burnett bluntly asks Eren why he is relaxing by himself instead of preparing his body. Eren apologizes if he appeared insincere, calmly explaining that forcing mindless physical training right now would go completely against his heart. Intrigued by the answer, Burnett asks for clarification, and Eren states that his sole purpose here is to subjugate the demonoid efficiently. Eren firmly adds that true effort only occurs when one pours their whole heart into an action, meaning swinging a sword without total intent is meaningless. Impressed by the young man's absolute conviction, Burnett orders Eren to stay by his side so they can continue discussing combat philosophy. As they march, Burnett asks if Eren is constantly maintaining an armed state, and Eren offers to manifest his heart sword to prove it. Eren outlines his focus for the battle, explaining he will use his heightened senses to detect incoming demonic energy and alert the Alliance instantly. Praising his realistic approach, Burnett tells him not to shoulder everything alone, reminding him that veteran priests were brought along specifically to spot dark energy. As a massive giant and hordes of beasts ambush the rear at 9 o'clock, Commander Burnett immediately orders the 6 noble families to fall back and protect the spellcasters. Burnett immediately takes command, ordering the noble families to defend the rear spellcasters while he charges forward to slay the giant himself. Bloody chaos explodes across the battlefield, but Eren instantly draws his sword, locking eyes on the massive threat with unyielding resolve. The terrifying, dark beast snarls and lunges straight for the human lines, smashing through defenders with raw, devastating power. Before the monster can crush the front line, Eren leaps into the air, intercepting the massive creature with a blinding shockwave of force. With visceral precision, Eren unleashes a rapid series of heavy aura slashes, severing the monster's momentum and carving through its dark hide in the explosive clash. Eren unleashes a devastating aura strike, obliterating the beast in a single, blinding flash of raw force. Witnessing the sheer destruction, surrounding noble warriors freeze in absolute shock, unable to process the ridiculous power on display. They realize the wild rumors were entirely true, marveling at the sudden arrival of the kingdom's true prodigy. Commander Burnett shouts at the troops to get a grip and stay sharp, before confirming that everyone survived without a single injury. Clasping his hands in quiet reflection, Aaron wonders why seeing the giant ignited such an overwhelming, uncontrollable rage inside his chest. Commander Burnett approaches him with a stern gaze, asking if he realizes what he just did, prompting Aaron to immediately apologize. Burnett laughs off the tension, sincerely thanking Aaron for swiftly executing the threat and saving the force from heavy casualties. Lord Haroon rushes over and pulls Aaron into a tight, emotional embrace, telling his son how proud he is of him. Aaron softly thanks his father while off to the side. Ryan Garen pulls Jack aside to confirm if their secret plan is ready. As the march resumes, Aaron clutches the glowing blue artifact, explaining to his comrades that his sister and her master crafted it specifically to sense demonic presence. Suddenly sensing an incoming threat, Aaron shouts a warning that enemies are closing in fast from the left flank, prompting Burnett to order spearmen into formation. A massive demonic beast bursts from the tree line, but the force immediately charges, cutting down the horde in a violent clash. Realizing Aaron detected the ambush long before the priest's holy instruments, Burnett commands that Aaron's warnings take absolute priority from now on. Watching from the ranks, Ryan mutters curses under his breath while nearby soldiers gossip in disbelief that a 21-year-old possesses expert-level mastery. Later at camp, Aaron quietly inspects his food, remembering his sister's warning that the artifact will turn jet black if it comes into contact with poison. Noticing rival nobles covertly trying to sabotage him, Aaron calmly resolves to handle the sneaky attacks himself without causing camp panic. Checking beneath his bowl, he finds a handwritten note warning him about poisoned food, wondering who could possibly be secretly assisting him. After dinner, Commander Burnett approaches Aaron, declaring that he needs to personally test the young warrior's full strength in a formal spar. Rallying soldiers gather round to watch as Burnett commands Irene to draw his blade, prompting Irene to instantly manifest his radiant heart sword. As they clash, Burnett feels Aaron's spirit swelling exponentially, realizing he must fight at absolute full power or risk getting completely devoured. Heavy shockwaves blast across the grounds until Burnett calls a halt, admitting Aaron is fully qualified as an expert rank warrior who should act freely on the field. Lying in bed that night, Aaron reflects on how his body felt controlled by an outside force during battle, recalling the mysterious dream warrior who started it all. Slumbering into his mind domain, Aaron gasps as he notices a terrifying change. The mysterious gray-haired swordsman is suddenly consumed by pure, fiery rage. Aaron wakes up with a jolt, sensing that the dramatic shift inside his dream domain has permanently altered something deep within his own power. In a shadowy tent, Ryan Garen and his conspirator argue in frustration over why the poison failed to affect Aaron, agreeing to double the dose today. When his subordinate worries out loud about Aaron, Ryan angrily cuts him off, ordering him to get his head straight and remember who holds his loyalty. The next morning, Aaron finds another secret warning slip under his dish, calmly noting how persistent his quiet enemies are. As Burnett checks in on him, Aaron suddenly gasps, detecting a heavy surge of demonic energy rushing in from the left flank. Aaron leaps directly into action, swinging his aura-infused blade to instantly slice through a wave of lunging monsters. Burnett steps right beside him, smashing a heavy beast backward while telling Aaron to cover his back as they fight in tandem. Watching them effortlessly clear the horde, soldiers cheer for Aaron's reliability, unaware that Aaron's senses can now detect dark energy without relying on his artifact. Ryan watches in a blind rage, cursing Kirill for providing detoxifying artifacts and realizing he must kill the primary demonoid himself to steal back glory. The force arrives at a massive, artificially carved cavern, with Commander Burnett designating Irene to lead the vanguard into the enemy lair. Ryan pushes his way to the front, but as they step inside, an eerie, hypnotic melody echoes through the cavern walls, disorienting the vanguard. A dark-haired female demonoid steps out from the shadows, greeting her guests with a chilling smile while retaining her full human ego. Determined to surpass Irene, Ryan screams at the wicked being and lunges forward, ignoring all tactical protocol. Burnett shouts for everyone to avert their eyes from her hypnotic gaze, but a mind-controlled Ryan charges blindly, swinging his sword with desperate madness. The demonoid casually deflects the wild strike, catching Ryan in a trap as his loyal knight Jack dives in, getting captured instead. Smirking, the demonoid proposes a trade, offering to spare the captured knight's life only if the subjugation force turns around and lets her walk free. Ryan angrily shouts that the Garen family never negotiates with filthy demonoids, but she mockingly taunts him as she tightens her grip on Jack. Commander Burnett orders all forces to charge and wipe her out, but Viscount Garen's soldiers draw their weapons against the Twilight Knights to save Ryan's man. Viscount Garen screams that he will not back down until his son's knight is rescued, sparking chaos and internal conflict right in front of the enemy. The demonoid cackles at the pathetic human infighting, only to freeze when she notices Iran standing completely still with his eyes firmly shut. Bypassing her ocular hypnosis entirely, Eren uses his acute aura perception to pinpoint her location, lunging forward with a devastating blind strike. Eren cleaves through her defenses, injuring the demonoid and forcing her backward in absolute disbelief. She desperately tries to use the hostages as shields to buy recovery time, but Eren presses the assault, severing her arm off completely, shocking her with his total refusal to fall for her mind games. She frantically releases bursts of dark energy to slow him down, planning to retreat into the shadows to gather power once more. To her horror, she realizes she cannot gather a single drop of demonic energy, realizing Eren's aura has completely severed her connection to the dark forces. Eren unleashes a massive wave of light that shatters her stone, hard defenses, sending her crashing to the ground as she screams in agony. Terrified by Iran's monstrous power, the wounded demonoid scrambles backward, desperately fleeing into the dark depths of the cavern to escape his blade. Eren pursues her into the blackness, leaving two glowing eyes standing tall in the shadows as the battle draws to a close. Word erupts across the battlefield that young Lord Eren Pereira has single-handedly subjugated the demonoid. Surrounding knights and commanders cheer in utter disbelief, utterly speechlessly marveling at Iran's unmatched feat. Back at the Garen estate, soldiers marvel that the entire operation ended without a single casualty, marveling at how Eren sliced the mind-controlling monster in two. Trying to save face, Viscount Garen claims he was under the demonoid's brainwashing, desperately making excuses for his treasonous behavior. Though everyone present knows the Lord was in his right mind, Eren sits quietly in his room, deeply troubled by the strange, violent nature of his sword during the fight. An attendant announces a visitor, and Jack Stewart enters the room, admitting that no one cared for his life when he was taken hostage, except for Iran. Expressing deep gratitude for saving his life, Jack shocks Iran by confessing he was the one who poisoned his food under his liege's orders, offering to face any punishment. Eren asks to be left alone, but Jack vows to pay for his sins at any cost as he steps out. Suddenly, a cat leaps into the room, and Eren gasps with delight as he recognizes Ruru standing right before him. Ruru hangs her head in distress, claiming she is a black cat of misfortune who brings bad luck to everyone around her. When Eren reaches out to comfort her, Ruru recoils, warning him that staying near her will only pull him into disaster. Refusing to let her run away, Eren catches her and declares that a black cat will become a symbol of good fortune from now on, because his belief in her is absolute. Overcome with emotion, Ruru admits she missed him, confessing she was the white cat who secretly slipped poison warning notes under his food bowl. Ruru notes how Iren's heart gets swept around by the memory of the Dream Warrior, gently reassuring him that it is okay to feel lost sometimes. Feeling relieved alongside his master, Eren prepares to set off on a journey, eager to visit Headmaster Ian and reunite with his old friends. Meanwhile, Vice Captain Hill Burnett faces political pressure from corrupt nobles, declaring that no generous precedent will be set for treason. Burnett confronts Viscount Garen directly in his quarters, bringing up the shameful poisoning plot carried out during the subjugation. When the Viscount demands proof, Burnett presents Jack Stewart as an official witness, revealing the knight confessed everything and will accept his sentence. Calling the disgraced Viscount utterly unsightly, Burnett promises an official kingdom investigation team will be dispatched to strip the family of their power. Burnett rides out to the Pereira estate to personally recruit Eren into the Twilight Knight Order, only to be told Eren already left for Chrono Swordsmanship Academy. Out on the road, Iren speaks fondly of Headmaster Ian as his first master, while Ruru excitedly embraces her role as his second master. Ruru dresses up in a stylish traveler's outfit for their trip, and with Iren praising her look, the two officially embark on their journey. Arriving in the vibrant metropolis of Alcantara, Ruru marvels at the magic streetlights and bustling street acrobats surrounding Chrono Academy. Looking for lodging, they head into a large inn called Sword's Cradle, where traveling warriors gather from every corner of the realm. Stepping inside, Eren notices every single patron is armed to the teeth, catching rowdy mercs shouting over a long challenge queue. The tavern owner explains that visiting swordsmen must undergo a guest reception test to qualify for official challenge matches against Chrono. He guides Eren underground to a secret mercenary agency, where applicants must strike a force measuring device with a blade to earn a rank tag. When instructed to use a sword, Eren politely promises to give it his best effort, stepping up to the machine without picking up any of the physical weapons provided. Spectators gasp in utter disbelief as Eren materializes a radiant hard sword out of thin air, driving a ferocious strike into the testing apparatus. The digital meter detonates to a staggering 10,772 points, granting Eren the highest possible initial silver mercenary tag. The next day, Eren and Ruru head to the public arena to watch the guest reception matches. Spotting a familiar young prodigy stepping onto the ring, Eren instantly recognizes Lance Patterson, a talented class, a trainee from his generation at the academy. Lance addresses the crowd of eager challengers, declaring that anyone wishing to face a graduate must first prove themselves against him. A massive challenger lunges with a greatsword, but Lance deflects the blow effortlessly, countering with lightning speed to send the warrior flying. As Lance casually calls for the next opponent, the crowd shrinks back in fear until Eren steps down from the stands. Lance greets Eren with warm surprise, revealing to him that their former classmate Brat Lloyd also returned to Chrono to dedicate himself to training. Eager to test his growth, Lance invites Eren to a round, while Ruru roots loudly from the sidelines. Eren materializes his heart sword without a scabbard, prompting a stunned silence before Lance lunges forward with an aggressive strike. Blades clash in a violent flash of steel, with Lance unleashing a barrage of rapid attacks that fail to break Eren's guard. Staggered by Eren's flawless defense, Lance realizes with absolute shock that Eren is executing Brat Lloyd's signature defensive swordsmanship. Realizing Eren is drawing upon 5-year-old training memories, Lance lunges in to disrupt his posture before he can set up a heavy counter. Eren fluidly absorbs the impact, stepping forward to press his own offensive maneuver. Shifting his stance in an instant, Eren unleashes a furious, explosive flurry of slashes, leaving Lance horrified as he recognizes Judith's wild offensive style. Shattered by the overwhelming synthesis of two completely different masteries, Lance is driven back across the arena, realizing he is completely outmatched. Acknowledging that his current strength cannot win, Lance refuses to back down, declaring that he trained like crazy too before charging back in. Lance lunges with a desperate double sword strike, but Eren meets his assault head-on with a crushing counter. Eren's weapon flares with brilliant light, delivering a decisive blow that sends Lance tumbling backward in defeat. As Ruru celebrates Eren's victory, surrounding spectators stand in awe before Ruru suddenly spots Headmaster Ian entering the courtyard. Headmaster. Ian steps into the courtyard, smiling as Lance formally admits his defeat to the legendary master. Addressing Eren directly, Ian draws his blade and challenges his former disciple to speak with their swords right on the arena floor. The surrounding audience erupts in excitement to witness the headmaster fight, and Eren steps forward, declaring he will go all out. Ian easily deflects Eren's initial charge, sternly pointing out that his attacks are far too simple and forcing him on the defensive. Ian warns that switching between multiple styles is completely meaningless if the flow is cut off, before pressing forward with his own strike. Eren shifts his stance to manifest Ian's signature, Sky Sword style, drawing a shocked gasp from onlookers as the headmaster approves of the move. Admitting the attack is still lacking, Ian urges him to reveal whatever power he is still hiding deep within his heart. Eren focuses his mind, unleashing a blinding wave of energy that obliterates the surrounding arena floor in a devastating flash. The audience gapes in shock at the legendary aura sword output, prompting Ian to praise Eren for finding his true blade before calling an end to the match. In the headmaster's library, Eren meets the vice headmaster, Kira Finn. Ruru proudly introduces herself as Eren's mystic arts master, while Ian asks Eren to explain what troubles his mind. Ian gets straight to the point, advising Eren to leave the academy and travel the continent to explore different paths instead of staying stagnant. Ian warns him against running from the Dream Warrior's influence, prompting Eren to firmly declare that he will no longer avoid things that terrify him. Kira Finn talks to Ian and says Eren is still not a swordsman yet. Outside, Eren prepared for his departure, learning from Lance that Judith also headed west toward the 5 western kingdoms. Lance recalls his master's advice to overcome his inferiority complex, bowing respectfully as he vows to hold on and keep growing. Out in the city square, a green-skinned orc approaches Eren, dramatically begging for food and reminding him of the fortune note from 5 years ago. Ruru warns Eren that the orc is suspicious, but the orc uses a special catnip powder that immediately wins the feline master over. Introducing himself as the shaman Kuvar, he offers to read Eren's fortune as payment, brushing off Ruru's claims that he is a quack. Using spirithomancy, Kuvar reveals that a heavy iron stake was placed in Eren's chest by an outside force, making it hard for his heart to breathe. Kuvar explains that life relies on 5 balanced energies, advising Eren that he cannot erase the metal force but must suppress it using a growing fire ember within his heart. When Eren urgently asks how to grow that inner flame, Kuvar states he must keep moving and adding firewood to his spirit. Kuvar offers to act as their official guide across the continent, and Eren warmly agrees to let the shaman join their journey. Kuvar suggests traveling to Darenku, a city of master blacksmiths, so Eren can watch sweltering fire shape hard iron into steel as mental training. At the base of the Alhad Mountains, their party joins a merchant caravan to cross bandit territory, settling into an inn where Kuvar brings up tales of the Continental Strong. Kuvar lists legendary figures like Julius Hool, Joshua Lindsay, Karakum, and the persistent swordmaster Kun, who unlocked his power at age 70. Eren expresses genuine admiration for Kun's persistence, reflecting that many unbloomed talents exist throughout the vast world. Eren asks if he will be able to cut down bandits without hesitation, and Kuvar reminds him that all lives carry weight, reassuring him not to worry prematurely. Kuvar reassures him that the mountain bandit leader, Khazir, behaves more like a businessman who lets merchant caravans pass after collecting a standard bribe. However, when the merchant offer their usual toll fee, the mountain bandits suddenly demand every single belonging under threat of death. As Kuvar expresses shock at the sudden change, Eren steps forward, instantly sensing a thick, foul surge of demonic energy emanating from Khazir. A hired silver-tag mercenary named Wolfgang steps up to fight the bandit chief, but Khazir's augmented strength instantly overpowers him in a violent clash. Khazir declares he will slaughter everyone present, but Eren steps right in front of the line, introducing himself as an official chrono trainee. Khazir lunges in a murderous frenzy, but Eren notices a dark, corrupted necklace glowing around the bandit leader's neck. Recalling Judith's fiery advice, Eren delivers a crushing blow that drops Khazir to his knees, causing the terrified bandit chief to beg for his life. Eren inspects the dark necklace, and Khazir tearfully confesses he was acting in a complete trance without knowing when he put it on. Eren accepts his answer and confiscates the dark artifact, earning the overwhelming gratitude of the rescued merchant caravan as they safely continue their trek. As the group watches the bandits leave, Eren resolves to resume his swordsmanship training, realizing that sharper skills give him better options in every battle. Watching a sudden flash of heat radiate from Eren, Kuvar quietly notices that the growing ember inside his young friend's heart has become significantly stronger. When Eren prepares to smash the dark necklace, Kuvar stops him, advising that they keep the artifact safe for now to properly dispose of it later. Anya suddenly pops up and offers to trade one of her mysterious treasures for Eren's materialized heart sword. She pulls out a giant magical piggy bank powered by a full year of hard-earned coins, dropping a single piece inside to show off its powerful mystic arts. The pig inflates to a massive size, stunning Ruru and Kuvar, but Eren politely declines the offer and urges his companions to snap out of it. Later at the inn, Kuvar sits down with Eren to explain the legend of Vulcanus and his numbered blades, known across the continent as numbering swords. He reveals that only swordmasters, or those destined to become swordmasters, ever wield these legendary weapons. Kuvar adds that Vulcanus is hosting an open contest in Darenku in 2 days, prompting local swordsmen to gather in hopes of claiming the prize. Up in his room, Eren reflects on his growth, sitting in deep meditation as glowing symbols encircle his body to refine his inner energy. Reaching the artisan city of Darenku, the group steps into a bustling plaza filled with elite warriors, instantly spotting a renowned master in the crowd. A warrior named Georg introduces himself, politely acknowledging that he heard about Eren's group from Anya. Observing the commotion, Georg begins to scold Anya for trying to take things that aren't hers, apologizing for the trouble before taking their leave. Kuvar points out the famous twin knights, Charlotte and Victor, encouraging Eren to view the upcoming contest as a valuable learning experience. However, Kuvar sternly interrupts himself, giving Eren crucial advice to never enter a duel just to learn, but to fight with the absolute resolve to win. Eren apologizes for his passive mindset and returns to his room early, pondering deeply over Kuvar's intense words. He thinks back to Ilya, Brat, and Judith, realizing his academy friends always raised their blades with a burning desire to surpass everyone around them. The next morning, Kuvar feels guilty for speaking so harshly, but Eren genuinely thanks him for the guidance as they head toward the tournament grounds. A massive crowd gathers in the arena as the legendary dwarven smith Volcanus takes the stage, announcing that contestants will duel on a circular platform. Volcanus clarifies that the tournament is not meant to pick a simple winner, but to find a single swordsman who can spark his creative inspiration to forge the 10th numbering sword. Victor of the Twin Knights steps onto the ring to face Randell, with both veteran mercenaries agreeing to fight without holding back. Victor moves like lightning, unleashing a ferocious slash that shatters Randall's blade and nearly bores a hole straight through his chest. Spectators roar in amazement at Victor's single-strike victory, while Kuvar notes that Victor ranks among the top 200 experts on the entire continent. Meanwhile, in the stands, Anya uses her magical piggy bank to secretly place a glowing tracking mark on Ruru and Eren. Victor's dominance continues as he knocks out 17 consecutive challengers with ease, leaving the arena in awe as Eren steps up from the audience. Seeing Eren approach without a physical sheath, Victor points out that he forgot a weapon, but Eren calmly declares his sword is already prepared. Stepping onto the ring, Eren ignites his heart's desire to win, channeling the exact same blazing fighting spirit he felt when watching Ilya run ahead years ago. Eren's sharp expression shocks the crowd as he manifests his heart sword, declaring with absolute conviction that he will crush whoever stands before him. Seeing the raw, fiery ember radiating from Eren's blade, Volcanus suddenly halts the match and shouts that he has chosen the owner of the 10th numbering sword. Outraged contestants protest the decision, but Volcanus silences them all and dismisses the event, ordering Eren to follow him into the forge. Inside the smithy, Volcanus hammers at Eren's mental energy, baffled by how a blade formed from heart energy can be so unnaturally durable. Kuvar steps in to negotiate with the blacksmiths, demanding custom equipment for Irene and a forged weapon for Ruru in exchange for using Irene's inspiration. With new gear secured, Eren pours his heart's ember into the forge, sparking a massive explosion of light as the forging process officially begins. Sometime later, Volcanus requests a full year to complete his ultimate masterpiece, prompting Eren to head toward the academy city of Latian in the meantime. As they walk down a forest trail, Ruru suddenly perks her ears up, spotting the twin knights waiting for them in the middle of the path. The party recoils in horror as the twin knights casually present the severed head of Randell, coldly revealing they slaughtered him to eliminate rival claims. Charlotte and Victor demand the numbering sword, refusing to believe Eren does not have it on his person. When Eren asks why respected mercenaries would sink so low, Victor screams that after hitting their limits 20 years ago, they will do anything to break through the wall to swordmaster rank. The twin knights unleash a sickening surge of dark demonic energy, forcing Eren to draw his blade as he realizes humans are channeling monster powers. Before the corrupt knights can strike, a massive shockwave of purple and orange energy shatters the ground, signaling the arrival of the Holy Kingdom's Black Knight Order captain. The legendary Ignat, Crescentia, steps out of the smoke, coldly telling Charlotte and Victor that they have crossed the line by succumbing to dark forces. Thank you for watching Buff Goblin. Want more Superfly recaps and audiobooks? Check out the description for more. This series is called Reformation of the Deadbeat Noble. We end on chapter 52 in this video.